we believe in lean UX for sure, at least that's what we call it. A lot of these things are just inherent to success. You need to be doing these things to be successful, and if you're not, you're yesterday's product. And so we have customers who come in that say, I can't do this process. But they can, they just don't know how. And so our support team walks them through. And if that is a required walkthrough on a regular basis, we flag this process, and this is how many issues we've had with it. And we look at redefining that process with respect to UX and design. So every day you go into the Vidyard product, things are changing and getting easier to use, but often that makes other things more difficult to use. And so it's a very iterative process, and eventually you might hit perfection, but the reality is you never will. And so UX needs to be a consistent rethinking process. And I think large organizations get feature creep. They add a feature, add a feature, add a feature, add a feature, and stuff starts to get hidden, and web processes can be slow, and where something should be 1 click away, it ends up 5 clicks away. And so our model is everything should be 3 clicks away, and if not, that whole process needs to be rethought. With respect to changing the UI and the user experience on a regular basis, and pitching that to an internal executive, I would use the example of Facebook. Facebook always releases new improvements, new timeline features, new photo experiences, and the Facebook community at large always throws up their arms in anger. And Facebook goes ahead and deploys those new things no matter what. Timeline was a very slowly adopted feature by some of my legacy Facebook friends, but the reality is Timeline is a much better Facebook experience. I get way better feed items. I see the photos that I really do care about, and that's because Facebook algorithms are constantly changing, and they're building the UX to match those algorithmic changes to make a better experience for me. And I trust that Facebook has done a ton of research into redefining those things, and so the new Timeline is a great example. People are up in arms, they don't want those changes to be made, but eventually they're adopted, and the product keeps growing and scaling because it's much easier to use. And Facebook probably has more users than any of the enterprises that we would kind of work with, because they've got 90 or 900 million daily users of the product now. And so the impact that a small change in UX has on those users creates a massive wave through their market. And so I would utilize that example with large executives. I would also talk to large executives about the opportunity for generating new revenue by making UX changes, because a lot of features in products aren't used. I can think of one large marketing automation company where 90% of the user base uses 5% of the features. And if they used maybe another 10% of those features, there could be tens of millions of dollars in new revenue realized from modifying the UX to make those things easier to use and more easily accessible. So UX changes are directly tied to revenue, and that goes back to this ROI discussion. All that really matters is new money in the bank. And when you're thinking through UX, you should be looking at the impact that's going to have on revenue.